Hi everyone, today we're going to be doing an unboxing but in a little slightly different way. This was sent to me by Asmodee and Disney to take a look at the new Legends of the Force set. Rather than doing an unboxing of the entire 24 packs, though I will record it, what I'm going to do is actually unbox 6 of these packs as if it was a sealed event and show you how I lay the cards out and then choose what I'd actually go into a deck. So let's jump in. So what you get in one of these boxes is 24 booster packs of Legends of the Force. I'm going to just be taking 6 of these out. Now what we're going to do is pretend this is a sealed event. In that you get 6 packs. The illustration and artwork on the front does not matter. It has seemingly no relevance to what's actually in the packs. But what you're going to do is you'll get the 6 packs. You may, if you're at a pre-release, also have some of the extra leaders or extra bases available to you. But you're going to be opening these 6 packs and making a deck from it. So let's jump into the packs, starting with this one. First pack luck, here we go. So now I've opened my first pack. This is what I would start to do. I'd put my leader and base combos over to the side so we can work on that. But then I'd start forming a grid. So let's just pick any column and row. So let's put, I normally go single aspect, something heroic, and then something villainy. So let's start the villainy row off. And you can start to see, I sort of start making this grid pattern. Something like this doesn't have an aspect, so I'll just put it sort of in line with these up here, because that could go into any deck that I'm trying to make. In a limited format, you're looking for cards like this, or even just say heroic if you're going heroic, because that will fit into any sort of combination of colours. So that's the first one. I'm just going to move these out so we can see this grid. But this is where I'd be starting to look. At the moment, obviously, I only have the one Obi-Wan leader, but I'll be having 6 leaders in total. So at the moment, if we were just looking at this, we'd be looking here at green heroic with a aggression, red base. So we'd be looking at these columns and then discounting villainy. Obviously, we've not got many cards, so let's jump into the next pack. So we start off with the leader. This is Kit Fisto, nice hyperspace version of him. Always good times for that. Again, I'll put that over into our pile of bases and leaders. And then let's flick through the cards. And I'll just be flicking them down the bottom and then organising them. Porgs, always good. Ooh, got another heirloom lightsaber. A bit of a bomb. Not the best pack there at the end. But now we go through and we go and start putting things into a nice organised system. At the moment we're looking very good on green and red, certainly on heroic, which is helpful because at the moment we've had 2 heroic leaders out of 2. Oh, we finally have a single villain card. If we were to go down the yellow route, this is going to be a very good heroic option. And straight into the next pack. So Cal, again, putting those off to the side. Oh, whoa, here we go. It is only a common, but it's a very nice shiny common. And you combine this with Raid 3 with the unit, I cannot remember the name of it, that doubles Raid. All of a sudden, painful for someone. When it comes to legendaries or shiny cards, sometimes I will put them off to the side so they don't get sort of scuffed at all in the mixture. But we're just going to carry on as we were. Again, we've got these cards. We're just going to slightly organize them, and you can, again, you're just seeing a general process of what I would be doing at a sealed event. I'd also maybe do this after a draft, put them into this if I had really mucked up and sort of not obviously gone down one route or another, and then you can sort of go, yes, I do need to go for these colors. For instance, at the moment I would be probably ruling blue out because I've got very few cards, but these, more leaning towards these, have the most cards. Again, leaning more on heroic than villainy, but we've still got 3 packs left, so let's jump into them. Oh, two of these common in one pack. One is foil, one is hyperspace. Let's just have a look at the 2 of those next to each other. We have come to something interesting, a double aspect. What would I do with this? Well, there's so few double aspect cards. Normally, what I do with them is just put them completely off to the side. You're very unlikely to be playing a double aspect game in limited in any sense, so I'll just pop that off over to the side. Sometimes I'll put it above the colour, but really it's unlikely to see play. Unless, like maybe playing a different card slightly out of aspect, you don't get to your 30 cards, that's when it's, alright, I'll start looking at that. So I put those off to the side. If I'm going green, I therefore might think about it being a double green, only 1 aspect penalty. But yeah, we'll keep the double aspect ones off to the top there. And you'll see what I'm actually doing in the background is putting these straight into where they should be. Oh, Darth Revan's lightsabers. That's quite a nice pull at the end there, even if we're not going villainy for another time. And there we have it. So let me just shuffle the mat a little bit. So we had that 1 double aspect card, otherwise here is our sort of distribution. We definitely have made up in terms of villainy. The villainy pile and the heroic pile are similar, although I think there might be 1 additional, maybe not, maybe they're the same. So we're not necessarily as limited, but it still does look to me that blue is the underrepresented colour here. It's probably going to be one of these 3 colours that we're going for. Looking at the leaders, we have 1 villainy leader, which is Morgan Elsbeth. And I don't think she'd necessarily be great in a limited play because of her ability. I think if you're building a deck, she could be a bit stronger. Looking at these, I think you have some interesting ones. Obviously we have 2 Cals and we also have 2 Obi-Wans, which just does start to limit our options. So we can put a Cal down, we can put an Obi-Wan down, and the other leader is a Kit Fisto. So this is where it starts to be, what do I have? Now, from when we were unboxing, we didn't see a huge number of Jedi, which means Kit's ability starts to be less useful to us. So I'd probably put him off to the side, and I think we're then sort of left with 2 decent leaders. I've actually played Cal a couple of times. He's fun because he deploys on 4. However, I did find it just seemed to struggle. You do struggle sometimes in a limited or draft format, getting the Force early and being able to use the ability, which would be exactly the same for Obi-Wan, to be fair. And in both of these cases, they need you to have the Force token to start working, in terms of exhausting something that the opponent has or giving out the experience. So, both deploying before 6 resources, you have the choice. Do you go super early, grabbing yellow? Do you go green and sort of go a little bit later at 5 resources with a bit more health and buffing up stuff along the way? And then what are you comboing it with? Probably this is where it comes down to you're here in a limited environment to have fun. It's not as competitive because it's based on what you've packed. So you can have a bit of fun. For me personally, choosing between these two leaders therefore comes down to a couple of things. The first thing is, which leader do you want to play most? Do you really love Cal from the games? Go with Cal. It might be the time you get a chance to play him and enjoy him. Maybe you really liked Obi-Wan as he was portrayed in any of the things that he's in, maybe Clone Wars for instance. Go as Obi-Wan, but you're not getting the full Clone Wars experience because that was set 3, which was also awesome. Between the two, for me personally, just looking at the leaders and looking at the colours, I'd probably go with Obi-Wan simply because I'd played Cal recently and I'd not actually played Obi-Wan yet. But if you want to look at it a bit more technically, what would you do? Well, I think we're probably going to rule out blue and villainy. So first of all, I'd get rid of all of these villainy cards from the table. Now, it's not to say that some of them might not come back because you might need to get to your 30 cards to play out of aspect cards. But for now, I'd be putting these and the double aspect cards just over to the side. Now, what we can say is we'll probably be likely to use at least some of these. These are the heroic only or the non-aspected cards. So we can put these in a pile to grab in a minute. We'll put them off to the side. We really need to determine what we want to do, and primarily in yellow or green. So I'd look at these. We have 3 heroic cards there. We have 4 heroic cards there. All playable, to be fair, although this does really require Jedis, but you do then have 2 of them straight away. What does it start to look like in the yellow deck? I often find they are full of 1, 2, 3, 4 different events. Not always the most helpful in a limited environment because you need units, always helpful. But to be fair, you've actually got 2 there as well. There's a good spread here, the fact that we have 2 cost units in green is quite helpful. How many did we have in yellow? The Lothcat, which will exhaust something, which is quite nice. We have 2 of those. 3, 4. We have 4 playable turn 1 plays here. That therefore starts to look really nice. So I'd start to go, yep, I think yellow is probably a good way to go. Looking at red, we have the very powerful Ki Al-Mundi. Drawing cards is seemingly very strong, 2 cards in one go. And looking through the red deck, do we have any turn 1 plays? We don't, apart from using the Force, which we wouldn't have. Lots of later game cards in there, 4s, 5s, some 6s, etc. So that could be useful. But I'd certainly be looking maybe towards yellow because it's got 4, 5, 6 turn 1 plays, whereas green has got 1, 2, 3, 4. Even red having 3 there is quite nice. I'd maybe start to go, what do I want to play then? If we go with Cal, we have the instant 5 or 6 different turn 1 plays. Very nice in a limited deck. Whereas with Obi-Wan, we need to start thinking, alright, we've got green. Do I actually go green, yellow? What do we do with red? And then what can we gain from here? How many turn 1 plays? 1, but it's not great. 2, it's an okay play because it's drawing a Force card. You've not created this deck perfectly, therefore it might not be great. You do have the option of these 4 turn 1 plays, including a whenever you want to play it 0 cost Porg and a play it and make it a 7/7 if you really want Curious Flock. So let's make a decision. I would go, okay, let's have a look quickly at blue, Yaddle is quite nice. The extra lightsabers would be nice. We have a Guardian of the Wills and a Secretive Sage, both some strong options, but blue is lightest in colour. So what I would say is there's not enough blue for me personally. These piles are bigger, therefore let's get rid of blue for now. Now they can go up here on the out of aspect because you might want one to sort of top the deck up. But let's go with Obi-Wan simply because I liked Cal, but I want to play something different. So we get all of these cards straight away. I'll look through them again in a second. And I do think we probably need to go for yellow simply because of the extra turn 1 plays. So even though we actually chose between the two leaders, we ended up going for their 2 colours anyway. This is where you can start to make sure that what you've done isn't completely silly. This is then a second way of laying out your cards, and this is by numerical values. So your 1 costs, your 2 costs, your 3 costs, your 4, 5, 6, 7s, and I like to put my events separately from my units. So I'm just going to be going through, making sure that this looks good. Don't know why I put 3s under the 2s there. Let's slide all of this up so I've got a bit more room. Good that I've got a space unit. Hadn't actually thought about that up till now, so good that I accidentally did alright with that. Okay, and then I'd just go through and I'd probably put these in here as well. That's another 2 cost, a 0 cost, a 2 cost, a 2 cost, although I probably won't play that. I probably wouldn't play that one either if I had the options, which I might do. Okay, so first of all I'm looking at this. Let's slide this over again. Whoop. So we don't have any 6 costs, but we do have a huge amount of 2 cost plays. We have some good amount of 3 cost plays. A few different events. We don't actually have too many. I would say in a 30 card deck, unless you're doing something really spectacular with events, I wouldn't want more than say 6 events / upgrades. Depending on the leader, you could push that higher, especially if it's like, oh, that lightsaber is going to be absolutely amazing on a early deploy Cal. Getting an heirloom lightsaber, for instance, onto him early, so you can do that extra damage and a bit of restore. Well done, sort of job. But I'm relatively happy with this. Then I do my check. How many cards do I actually have? I need to get down to 30. Or have at least 30 anyway. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. And then 5, 6 events. So I have 33 cards. So I'd look through these and go, okay, paying this, giving something for this card 3 lessons, play a card from my hand. It costs 2 extra effectively, but gains hidden, an experience, and a shield. Not bad, not terrible. Having 2 overpowers, giving something +3/+3. That's a punchy extra attack for the round. Exhausting something, yes, that's quite nice. Probably this card starts to go because it's talking about looking through my discard pile and deck for something that matches a trait. We're not looking at traits much in a limited format, so I'd get rid of that one. This is effectively a sort of super waylay, maybe even getting them to discard a card, so we'd keep that one. But we'd need to get rid of probably a couple more cards. And that's my 30 card deck. I've got 5 events, which I'd say is probably about right. Maybe a little bit too much, but you know, you could swap those monkey lizards in. But you'd smush them all together in a really nice, non-card abusive way. And that becomes the deck. So one of those, and I need that yellow base to finish it. So that would be how I would go into and start thinking about a sealed event, a limited sealed event. So you open those 6 packs, I lay that grid out nicely like that. You can start to do it mathematically like I did there at the end, showing you how you can line things up with the numbers to go, have I got a good curve? Do I have enough turn 1 plays? Do I have too many events? Those sorts of things. And you could see I could have gone very different. I could have gone for a cow leader, maybe even with a red base. I had certainly a good amount of red cards, but I think this gave me a really good number of definitely getting something in on turn 1 play. With the yellow cards in particular, maybe that Mysterious Hermit coming in, giving me the Force token for the next round, which means straight away I can be utilising Obi-Wan's ability, or a Loth Cap for rounds 1 or 2 that's exhausting something from the enemy. I think there's some good plays there, and I'd have a lot of fun with this. But that is what I think Sealed is all about, having fun with the decks. But hopefully this has helped you see what you can do at a unlimited event if it is a sealed event. Draft is very similar, but you'd have effectively half the number of cards to build a deck from. Still 30 cards, but you are drafting, so you are most likely taking extra green cards from when you're picking cards if you're running or wanting to run a green leader. But there you have it. That is Star Wars Unlimited and how I would lay out a sealed, potentially pre-release event if I was going to it. Hopefully this has helped. Hopefully you've enjoyed seeing some packs be opened, seeing some cards, and a huge thank you to Asmodee and Disney for sending me the box to do this. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, have an unlimitedly good day.